So thank you all for coming together today and having this amazing session. So just a little intro about myself. My name is Prakhar Neel Sharma, and I belongs to a district called Dhar in Madhya Pradesh state. I'm working as a designer from the past 7 years. I started my journey as graphic designer. Then I slowly moved to digital space because that's what really fascinated me as a designer. I'm currently crafting innovative digital solutions at Hello Beta. For those of you who don't know, Hello Beta is working to treat people with mental health related issues. It's based in Germany. So that is what Hello Beta is about. So I'm the thing that really fascinated me about design is this smartest thing that I'm holding in my hand. It is the smartphone. I was really obsessed about how a palm-sized device could encapsulate so much of thing and so much of function at once. And you would be surprised to know that people spend about 3 hours and 15 minutes a day on their phones, according to the app Rescue Time. That amounts to 35 full days a year. Can you believe we spend more than a month in front of a digital screen? That's how we are connected with the technology nowadays. We are closer, we are never even that closer to the technology as we are now. We interact more with mobile than our partner, husband or wife. It's the first thing in the morning we use and the last thing we use before sleep. So that is how it becomes an integral part of our day-to-day life, these digital devices. And that is what we as designers are doing. We are designing meaningful experiences on digital devices to use. We are crafting those impeccable experiences for users because they're spending their 1 month in front of digital device. So it's a big responsibility as designers to design this flawless experience for users to actually make their time worth whatever they're spending on the product. Now, what is design? I'm sure you could type it on Google and you get lots of information about what design means. You get 100 definitions. So to me, design means crafting meaningful solution. Design is not just about how it looks, but it's more about how it feels, how we are making sure that we are expecting we are meeting the needs of the user in real time. And the goal or purpose of design is the number one is to meet users' need, and the second is to solve real world problems. If I'm creating or working on a product, no matter how brilliant, how amazing, how fabulous the design is, but it doesn't serve any purpose, if it's not communicating its values, if it's not solving any problem, then it's worthless. We may not able to retain user if we are not creating something that would understand the user problem and solve it in real time. That is the real goal or purpose of design. So whenever a user opens the app or a product through any digital device, they don't see code, they don't see anything what is going behind, they don't see how things are working. What is visible to them is design. What they're experiencing is the overall user journey that we are delivering to them. And what they're interacting with is design. So that is how important design in nowadays to connect human with the technology and to bridge the gap between human and machines. And the job is very demanding. This thing is require lots of commitment. So design in tech is a 3-level hierarchy. The first one is a product design. Create a product that solves a problem or satisfies a desire. Second one is the interaction design. Make it easy to understand and use. And third one is the visual design. We eat with our eyes first, make it beautiful. And design is about balancing these 3 levels all together. It's about creating a product that solves problem with easy to understand and which looks beautiful. And if we are able to manage to balance all these three things at once, then we are surely able to get a very brilliant product, a very brilliant design at the end. Now, how design solves real world problems. So I will explain you this statement with two very fundamental examples. I'm sure everyone is aware of Uber. Everyone used or using Uber. So before Uber app arrives, to hail a taxi is like really a big trauma, because we don't know how many time it will take to actually get a cab. The fare could get manipulated by a driver. We don't know how much will it take, how much time will it take to reach the destination. There is no sense of security or privacy before the Uber app arrived. And after this magical app Uber arrived, then it completely changed everything. It completely changed how we interact, with hailing a taxi experience, or it's like we have a cab at our pocket. We have everything at our fingertips. We just need to open this brilliant app. We just need to actually enter the destination. We get a very precise fare rate, and that's it. We are good to go. We get the cab in no time. So you could see the real world example of how we are able to solve the real world problem with design. The second example is Google Pay. So before Google Pay app or any kind of payment app arrived, we pay or receive money through cash. The first thing, and second thing is, in case if our wallet got stolen, then we lost all of our money, just in case. And after this amazing app arrives, that this payment app, Google Pay, it becomes so easy and seamless to actually pay or receive money, to pay to Zomato or Swiggy or any other place. It becomes so easy for us to actually pay and receive. And in case, even if the mobile got stolen, there is this passcode or security, that is, no one else could access your money apart from you. So that is how secure, easy, and reliable nowadays technology is. And it really makes humans' life easier and easier day by day. And I'm sure it looks very simplistic to all of you, that creating this one screen and getting funds and stabilizing a $1 billion company and all these things. But trust me, it's a very rigorous process. The design process is really demanding. It requires commitment. It requires lots of research. It requires lots of resources, analysis, and different stages to make sure that whatever we are getting in the end should meet the user expectation. That is what design process is all about. So empathy is where design starts and research prepares you. It means if you empathize with your user, if you understand the pain points of user, then it's even more easier to create a solution, to design a solution that could accomplish the goal, that could easily convey or communicate the solution that you want to sell. And research here means to back up your design decisions with data. For example, I am having a login screen on an app, and I want to have a login button, not on the left side, but on the right side. So I can't do it and say to my client or to my stakeholders or to my manager that I did it because I think it looks good. It is my intuition. It is my gut. It doesn't make any sense. It's important to have the design decision backed up by the research, by data, or by information that you will show it with concrete confidence that whatever you are trying to show it to client or to manager is actually making sense in real time, and you already tested this solution with 10 to 15 users, and out of 10 to 15 users, 7 or 8 users are already saying yes to this solution. So this is how design process actually work. So I won't give you a kind of theory or something like this. Let's dive into real world example. airtm. So I got this task or like a design assignment from a product called airtm. So what is airtm? Airtm is basically a platform for sending and receiving money abroad. It's a Mexico based company, and they approached me for an assignment. So before I dive into the details, let's go through the entire design process of just one feature. We are just creating one small feature, and we need to go through this entire design process just to make sure whatever we are creating is making sense for the real-time users. So let me take you through all of the steps one by one. So the first one is the introduction. To give a little introduction about design process and what I will going to do in this overall assignment. The second is to about understanding about the task or requirement, that what exactly client requires from me. The third one is goal, to know about where we want to reach. As a designer, it's important to know the end goal, that after creating this particular feature, where I want to go or what exactly I want to accomplish at the end. The fourth thing is the research, where I would like to explore a bit about the feature before even started touching to work on it, or to start exploring anything else. I would like to do a little bit of research for the user experience, for the visual design, to know a bit more about the users that are going to use my features. Then the fifth one is problems in the current dashboard. So it is a bit out of the scope, but as I already saw the dashboard designs of the product, so I know that dashboard also requires some improvements. That's why I thought it would be good to analyze problems. Sixth one is the approach, what kind of approach that I'm taking for this design. Seventh step is the rough ideation. Scribble on paper about what actually makes sense. Create very rough diagrams, create very rough steps, just to see what things we could try possibly, and what exactly I could do with all the things that I already achieved so far with all these steps before. The eighth step is for the user flow. The user flow is giving a kind of basic hierarchy of all these steps one by one, of all these screens, more in the words format. The ninth one is for the wireframe. So we have to create these skeletons, which gives us a vision that what the design of features would look like whenever we started designing. So it gives a little bit of idea about what exactly we want to accomplish, and how we want to shape it. The 10th point is about design screens analysis. So analyzing each and every component briefly, that why I take that particular design decision and how it influences the overall features. So, describing each and every component in detail. 11th point is about the entry points. So how do we acknowledge, or give knowledge to user about uh, how to access that particular feature, because this is a new feature, and how do we want to know that user should gain knowledge of it. So there are some entry points that I defined. 12th is the usability testing, to test the solution that I created. So as this is an assignment, this is not a product, so I just did testing just once, and I just chose 7 people whom I get enough data to extract, and I get this solution. So after usability testing, I have the testing summary, and after that, we have the learning. So what I learned so far from all these design things, and the overall process, and the last one is the working prototype. So if it's a real product that I'm working on, then the process is ever evolving. I will test my prototype with the user, then I will get learnings, I will get concrete feedback and confidence that what else we could improve in the current feature, and then we will improve it, and then we will go again to test the updated feature with the user. So this is a kind of basic cycle that will go in the real world, but as like I said, it's more of an assignment, so I'm not able to iterate this process again and again. So this is the kind of simple breakdown of the entire design process that we will be going to take a look in this assignment. So this is the basic screens design for this particular assignment. So what is the task now? What are the requirements? So like I already described airtm. So AirTM is for sending or receiving money abroad. It's a company from Mexico. So they approached me that they wanted to add a prepaid virtual debit card functionality to give users access to spending the funds on their AirTM account. And the basic functionalities that they are looking from my side is they wanted to give user freedom to buy card, to fund their card, to see their card balance, to cancel or block their card, to see transaction history, to see transaction details, and anything else that I think could make sense and would like to give user access to. This is the basic task or requirement that I get, and I got this even in the Word format. I actually arranged it so that it's even more easier to understand. I got it in a very rough text format, that what are their exact requirements. So what is the goal of this feature, what we want to achieve from designing this feature? So the first one is to make smooth and painless onboarding. So as this is a completely new feature, we want user to have a very smooth and painless onboarding right from the beginning. Because if they feel a little bit of discomfort, or if they have a bit more of a cognitive load, or if they're not able to understand anything, then there is a higher chance that we may lose user in between this process. It's really important to have that very easy and fundamental uh, onboarding to be prepared for user. The second goal is to create a harmonious relationship with the user. As this feature is completely new, we want to retain users so that they could use the card again and again, and we generate revenue for the business. So it's important to build this harmonious relationship with users so that they could understand each and everything in detail. And the third goal of creating this feature is, as we are dealing with money, it's really important to build a sense of trust and security with users so that they could rely on the product, and could load their card with money, and they won't have to think another time that what would happen if something goes wrong. So it's important to build this sense of trust and security. So these are the primary goals that we have to achieve at the end for this assignment. So let's go to the research part. The first thing is the user experience. So it's about creating that user journey. So why I included SBI, TransferWise, and Paytm here? Because there are two phases in the research for UX especially. So there is one where a feature that we want to design is already available in the market, and the second phase is we are working on a completely new feature that is completely intact and no one ever did that before. So if there is some feature that I'm working on that is not available or present in the market as of now, then I would need to test my prototype at the initial stage with user again and again, because it's not done before. No one has done this thing before. So it's very important to be lenient with the user and to make sure that whatever we're creating should make to the actual audience that we're targeting for. So that is a quite different process. But for this feature, as this virtual debit card is already existing in different platforms like TransferWise, Paytm, or SBI, so it's pretty easy for me to go through the entire platform one by one in those platforms. There are other platforms also that I've been through, but I'm mentioning this because most of us are aware of these platforms. So it's pretty easy to connect. So I've been through the entire depth for all these all these platforms, just to understand that how the how the virtual debit card functionality works in their platform, and what are the flaws that I could improve in my solution, and how I could do it even better that is already existed. So this is the very first phase of the research that I gave here. The second one is the UI design, or the visual part. So if you're dealing, if we're creating a good user journey, if we're creating a very meaningful product, then it's really also important to have that balance of visuals, or the interface design along with the overall design journey. So interface design is also important. So I went through different platforms like Dribble, Pinterest, Behance, Applets, and other platforms to explore a bit more about the visual design and to get inspired from other talented designers and to see how we could elevate and fuse the functionality with the look and feel. So this is the motivation for the UI research. And then the third research is about the users. So before even I started working on the task, it's really important to understand about my target audience. There are these two things like online forums, interviews, list of user problems. So as like I said, this feature is already been defined through many other competitors or so many other platforms. So it's even more easier to understand the flaws of these platforms. And I'm sure everyone of us know about the Google or Play Store reviews thing. I mean, it's a bit time-consuming process, but to understand the flaws from the real-time user is I think, a win-win for me even before I started working on any kind of design or any kind of product, because it really helps me to understand the problem a bit more deep and how I could create a solution, how I could make something that is not even like present before in other platforms. So it gives me a little bit more depth about what kind of solution I could be designing for the users. So this actually helps me in taking design decisions. So these are the research conclusion that I get. These are like some of the complex forms. I get more sticky notes. My wall is usually filled with sticky notes because of this kind of things I used to do. So what are the things that we need to focus? We need to focus about, as we are dealing with money, so security is important to display. The second thing that we need to focus is the onboarding experience should be easy. So as for the first time user, if we are if you're not able to retain them until the end of the onboarding, then we may lose them forever. So it's really important to have this very easy experience for onboarding. The third thing is the card design should be friendly. So this is something that I'm not able to see in any other platform, the card templates. So the virtual card, like in the Paytm or in TransferWise, there is this very boring, fade away, mundane card you could see easily, and you are not able to change or customize or do anything else. Because as virtual card, you are interacting with the card every time you opens the particular web app. So it's important the card design should be user friendly, should should ease and should look appealing to the eyes of the users, because it is something that appears again and again and again. I want user to give this freedom that they could choose the card design from themselves. Then another thing that I need to focus on is to explain card features to first time users. So if I'm a first time user and I come to this platform for the very first time, then it's important for me to explain the card features and how the card would be beneficial for the user so that they could process the onboarding steps. And then another thing that I need to focus on is to break the process into smaller chunks. I can't give lots of information in just one screen because it will ultimately increase the cognitive load. It will look like lots of information is bombarded to the user, and we don't want to do that. So it's important to break the lots of information or content into smaller steps so that it's even more easier to achieve it, and user won't feel that much of cognitive load in that. And the last one is easy to digest content. So for example, I don't want to give, let's say, 400 500 words of para about the features of cards, because no one will going to read it. So it's important to have the information that is easy to digest and should be easy to understand. These are the things that I need to focus, that I get after the research. And the things that I need to avoid is flashy interface, because we are dealing with money and we are working on creating virtual debit card. It's not a dating site or something. So I try to avoid the flashy interface, gradients, this kind of things. Not to give too much of information in the single page, which I already described, because it is difficult to digest, to see lots of information in just one page, and it will increase the cognitive load of the user. So it's better to not, show lots of information in that vertical scrolling. Not to use difficult words or language which may confuse users, so try to use as much easy words as possible. So I would like to avoid it. Avoid asking user to transfer money only through the airtm wallet. So if I'm asking user to transfer money only through airtm wallet, then I am forcing them to not use any other merchant for payment, which may which may allow user to go away from the platform. So I would not, I would avoid that. Another thing I would avoid that is to show only one card to select from. That's why I gave this idea of using template. And then I avoid, try not to use multiple colors in the interface, because like I said, we are dealing with money, and we need to give a sense of trust and security. So it will only come with the corporate look and feel. If we are giving that persona which user could easily trust. So I would try to use multiple vibrant colors in the interface. So this is the research conclusion that I encapsulate in just some sticky notes. So next come is the user flow. So user flow is more about showing the steps in the words format, in more in the blocks format. So here I divided the whole that prepaid virtual debit card feature into two sections. One is for the individual and one is for the business. So I didn't get the requirement for the business, but that's what I think would be efficient for business to generate and to increase the revenue of the product, which I will discuss later. So first we need to focus on the individual. So the first screen is for the features, where we show the card and show a little bit of introduction, and we allow user to go through the onboarding from that screen. The first step is for to set card theme, to choose from the predefined templates that whatever they like. The second step is to set pin. The third step is to add money into the virtual card, and the fourth and final step is to get the final confirmation message for the activation of the card. And the last one is we show the dashboard view to the user, that how exactly it will look after after my card gets activated in real time. This is for the individual. So I also formed this business flow here also, just to like I said, to impact it on the to impact it on the product revenue. So for the transactions, we could arrange those transactions as per categories, and we could charge a very small amount of fees monthly. For example, I eat food at McDonald's, I eat food at Subway. So I have these categories arranged so that it's more easier to find all these categories. The second feature is to allow user to add notes, so that they could see, and if they have this tendency to forget that what expense they did at what time, so they could add notes that why I did that expense. And the last one is to set or change purchase limit, which we are not giving it to the individual. The purchase limit for individual is set to $3,000 a month. They can't change it, but for the premium users, for the business users, they could change it. So the business module is a bit out of the scope as of now. So we are just focusing on the individual section. But I'm trying to convey here that design is not just about like creating pretty interface, solving problem, but it also deals with the business, it also deals with the revenue, why, and other things. So both are interdependent. So we are not focusing on the business section as of now, because it's not a part of the requirement. So we focus on the individual flow. So let's move to the wireframe stage. So this is a very rough wireframe that I create for the home page. So it actually I prefer to use pencil and paper, and sometimes I prefer whiteboard, just to scribble some rough wireframes to see how I want to arrange the information, how I want to give a proper layout to the overall feature list, and how I want screens to look like. So these rough wireframes give me a little idea of how I want to arrange the context for the screens. So I tried many versions, many iterations, erasing and then again sketching and all this kind of things. And I convert the wireframes into digital version. So I use the software called Balsamic. So with this digital wireframe, it's even more easier for me to understand the whole ecosystem of that particular feature. And it's even easier for me to design it in real time because I get the information, I get the context arranged that how I want things to look like. So it will do pretty much a good job to give me a kind of mindset or vision that how I want the product to look like. This is the digital version of the wireframe that I created along with the systematic flow that from what screen go where and all the user maps connected. Then we have the final designs at the end. So I didn't read the designs just by one go. I prototyped different versions. I tried different ways to approach to the same problem. Then I got this final design for the home of this particular feature. So I named this feature as virtual card. I don't want to get a lots of space in the left side menu. At the left bottom, you could see is the promotional feature element where we could use it as a part to promote other on like upcoming features. Uh, a video instead of the card, just to give user an introduction about how the card will function and how it will make your life easier and what are the benefits of using the card. But I think having this card feels more connected with user that what exactly they are onboarding for, because the video is for like 2-3 minutes and I think it's more easier to scan, and we will get to know how it will work in the usability testing phase because I get all the decisions from user that what exactly they like and what are the things that they don't like and other things. So this is the basic homepage for the virtual card feature, and below the screen I explained each and every design element in detail, what this means like and how we are how for example why I put the menu bar on the left side, why I don't put it on the top, why I don't put it on the right side, why I use the information in the way that it is arranged as of now. So these are like some of the findings that I got. So the left navigation bar is more efficient for users to scan. Top navigation forces a horizontal scanning direction that often confuse people when they read it. The left navigation bar carry more visual weight than the other items because of its placement in the primary optical area top left. So these are like some of the exploration that I find out when I started working on it, that why we should use the menu bar on the left side and why not to use it on the right, on the top or at the bottom. So as a designer, uh, it's really important to describe each and every decision, that why we are taking this particular thing, why we're doing this. Everything should start and ends with a why. And trust me, even if I design this whole feature, if I wake up tomorrow, then I could able to figure it out that, oh no, these things maybe we could improve it or could do it other way, because this is how design actually works, to evolve it, to progress it all the time. So the second feature is about the virtual card. So instead of the term virtual card, I suggested some other options like prepaid virtual card, or we could use virtual debit card, or we could use prepaid card. The fonts here I use is WorkSense. It's from Google. It's free font. It's available. I use this font because it looks really organic, generic, and actually have a very good readability. It really have a very precise geometrical shapes, which makes it even more readable in the broad daylight. So this is the reason why I use this font from Google. And at the top left bottom, you could see that we use this section as we are already having it empty. So we could use this section to promote airtm's feature or any upcoming feature or anything that we want to promote. And then we have a bit more detail about the drop downs, that what are the contexts that we want to give user there, like profile, community, help, and logout. So I put this option by myself. I didn't get this in the requirement, just to see how it would look when it fills out with the information. And then we have the dummy card that we used at the front of the page, just to give a sense of knowledge that whatever the user is onboarding for, it's this card. So just to give a little bit more connection effectively.
Prakhar, sorry to interrupt. There are a couple of questions in the chat. One from
Mhm,
Rakshit Arya. He asked which software
mhm.
you use to create those lo-fi screens and the wireframes. I guess that's what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, I used Balsamic. Uh, the good thing about Balsamic software is it gives an impression of the hand-drawn wireframes. It actually feels like we drawn it by ourselves, and it's really easy to use. And it's freely available. So you can download it. You can write. Let me write it on the chat. You can download it. So Puneet Shrivas, so he asked like, what does business mean exactly? So like I said, it's an extra feature just for business person like who is running a company or something else. It's just to add a little bit of revenue to the product. Like I said, it's not a part of the requirement, but I envisioned it at the time I'm working on that individual flow, just to increase the ROI on the product. So that is what basically it means. Mm, no, no. So for a high fidelity screens, I suggest you to use Figma or Sketch. You can also design the low fidelity screens in those softwares also. But I actually am used to design the wireframes first in Balsamic, then convert this into high fidelity screens in Figma. And like Figma supports the SVG or the vector format, so I don't think we still need to use Illustrator for creating icons or illustrations. Of course, if the illustration are very complex to achieve, or if you want to give a kind of like texture or anything else, then I would suggest you to use Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator for it. Otherwise, I think Figma or Sketch would do rest of the job for you easily. And to create the interaction, which I will show later. So to create interaction, you could also use Figma, or there is another software. I'm not sure if you heard of it. Let me write the name. It's Principle for Mac. So it gives you, I mean, it's really easy to use, and it gives you the powers of Adobe After Effects. And it actually makes uh, the interaction of the overall design very easy from one screen to another, and to show it on even on the real-time devices. So it actually gives you the feeling that the the product is actually live, using the development, but it is only just the static screens. So this is the power of the principle. So I suggest, if you like to go for the interaction part, then Principle for Mac is a very good and very easy to learn option. So let's continue with the screens. So yeah, this is the very first screen for the onboarding. So we allow user to select card templates. As I said, in other platforms, the cards are pretty boring and not like very mundane and very fade away. So I wanted to give user enough choices that they could choose from, and and they choose the card that suits their personality, because they're going to see this card every day. So I want to give them enough option that they really like to go with the option that they prefer, or the color, or the shade or texture or whatever. This is the very first step. And like I said, I divided the entire flow into 3 easy steps. Instead of giving the vertical scrolling, it's even more easier to actually divide the steps, so that it's more easier for user to actually process the whole onboarding easily. So this is the very first step. This is the explanation about the decisions. This is the second step for pin. So why we want user to set pin? Two reasons. The first one is because to prevent the unauthorized usage, because you are going to load, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000 in your card. So it's important that your card is secured. And the second reason is to give a sense of security, that the money is safe with airtm, so user could believe and could make huge transfer, like big amount of transfer, which will benefit the product. And the second thing, why I use the numerical virtual keyboard, below the pin, it's because I'm sure many of you heard about keyloggers. So keyloggers are kind of, not to say malware, but it's a kind of like a software that comes either through mail links, or through website we are browsing, or links that we click by accident, and it would come without acknowledging us. We don't know that either our system has keylogger or not. That is the dangerous thing. And if your system has a keylogger, then uh, then whenever you type your password or pin, especially when you want to make any transaction, then the keylogger would record the pattern, and and your information is more prone to theft, or stolen, to get stolen. So it's important to have this virtual numeric keyboard, so it would reduce the chance of this unauthorized usage, and and preserve login credentials and sensitive data. And the last step for the onboarding is to add money. So this is the final step. So we just want user to add $50, so that we could also cross check the identity through the bank that they're transferring the money to, and we don't want any kind of minimum balance in the card. That is the good thing about the card. There is no deduction, there is no fees in the card. So user could add money either through airtm wallet, either through bank account, or other merchants like PayPal, Stripe, or any other platform that they want to interact with. And this is the confirmation that user completed the entire onboarding, and now they need to wait for the email activation. They will get the activation link via email, and they would get all the information there about how to load the card, how to use the card for transactions, and other smaller details. So this is the very first time view of the home screen after I get my card activated from the company. So I get the activation email link, and I clicked on it, and I get this view. So here I could reset my PIN, I could view CVV card, I could see the transaction list, but as it is for the first time user, it's empty on the right. A user could add money, user could block card, user could see the purchase limit here. And then we have next screen for the transaction. So these are the, when users started doing transaction, they could see all the details of the transaction on the right side, merchant name, date, time, and the amount. So this is how easy we could make the overall feature for easy usability, and even for the first time user who is not aware of what to do, it's more easy to get the insights. And I also thought about giving a pro feature here, that maybe we can give user graph view for transactions, but of course the user need to pay a little bit of money for that. it's of course for the business purpose, just to think beyond what is beyond the requirements. So that is why I thought about this, and I mentioned it also in the design. So let's talk about the entry points. We completed the whole design. Now, how would user know about this new feature after we created it? So of course there are many other entry points that we can find apart from these three, but these are the three that I think is very basic and easy to understand. So the first one is sending a newsletter through email uh, to our direct users. The second option is to use left side menu space at the top, at the left bottom side, where we could give information about how we want to promote this particular feature, and either use the new text on the particular feature. So it would kind of give a consciousness to user that there is something new that arrived on my dashboard and I could look at it. So there are the entry points. Of course, like I said, there are many other entry points, but these are the three fundamental entry points that user could go through, or we could acknowledge user about this particular new feature. Then we have the usability testing part. So after I created this entire feature, I approach 7 users. All are from different groups, different designations. Some are aware of using virtual cards, some are not. So I gave the details of each and every user here, and we won't go deep dive into the research, but I just give a quick overview of how the usability testing would work. So how I approach usability testing is I give user this task that you so for this feature, user need to onboard from scratch and to activate their virtual debit card. So I gave this task to my users that you need to onboard the entire app, the entire web app, and you need to create your virtual debit card. And when once they onboard the entire design, when they onboard the entire feature, then I ask questions like, what are the things that you like? What are the things that you don't like? Uh, how I could improve it? Is there any constructive feedback? Is there anything I could improve apart from all this that you could see? So sometimes we get useful feedback. Sometimes we get feedback that doesn't make any sense. So it's important to understand the practicality of the feedback and to see what feedback that we could apply in the iteration phase to make our product even more better for the real 1,000 or 10,000 users that are going to use the product in real time. This is the basic usability testing session that I conducted out of 7 users. And then this is the summary. So like I said, I conducted this research just for with the 7 users. So I get this information. Maybe if I conducted this session with 20-30 users, I will get completely different results. So it actually depends upon how much users are participating, what are the mindset of users, and how close the feedback is to the practical requirement. So it will differ if I test it, let's say, with another 7 users with different designations. So I may get a different output. So here what's really important, because it's a design task and I need to submit it within a given deadline of 7 days. So I need to move ahead with drawing conclusions from this usability testing summary. So out of 7 users, 4 users give me 5 stars for the overall feature. 2 users give me 4 stars and 1 user give me 3 stars. And the overall synopsis of the feedback session is we could add export feature in transaction for users to export it in PDF or Word format. I'm not sure, but I get this thing again and again from multiple users, like 3 or 4 users gave me that they want to export the transactions in some kind of format where they could see it offline. I'm not sure is it because of the taxation purpose or anything else, but they asked me for it. So I think in the current round of testing, we could add this export feature. So what are the learnings that I get from this overall, designing session, this overall creation of this task? The first one is the time management. So, like I said, I got the deadline of 7 days for this entire task. And initial 3 to 4 days, I dedicated mostly on the research, exploration, to use the different competitor platform that already have this feature. So I spent my initial 4 days on these things. And the remaining 3 days I spent on design, wireframes, usability testing, creating prototypes and other things. So I think uh, if I could arrange my time better, if I could complete that research and exploration phase in just 3 days, then I would get one more extra day to polish my design, to polish the to polish this entire feature. Then I think there may be a slight changes updates you could see here. So this is the very first learning that I get from this entire design task. And the second learning I get is to be thick skinned and prepared to deal with all kind of reactions. So there is this story that happened with me, that my uncle referred me to a friend for testing this new feature, and unfortunately, he was the very first user. So I worked very heart and soul. I think it's on the sixth day that I went, I approached him for the usability testing. So he actually looked at the feature, and he didn't like it, and he completely rejected it. I mean, he didn't say it openly to me, but with his face he looks like a bit disappointed, and he was not very happy. So I was very frustrated and depressed, because I invested so much of time in this feature. I did so much of research, exploration, and everything, and I was so upset that why it's not working, why is it happening like this. So at the end of the day, I realized that maybe I should ask the user that why he didn't like it, why he didn't like not even a single bit of the feature that I created. And then when I discussed with him, then I find out that he was a, I mean, he still is a game fanatic. So he play lots of computer games, mobile games. So he's more used to of that flashy interface, that colorful, vibrant, shiny interface, that shiny design, and that is what he is expecting from this platform, which is not possible, because like I said, it is as we are dealing with money, as we are dealing with something serious, we can't use these kind of things here. So this kind of even the harsh feedback, gives uh, me the opportunity to learn about how to tackle user, and how I could take this feedback to another level, and could understand that how would I synthesize it in a more practical way from the next time. So these are the important learnings that I get from this entire design task. So I'm pretty much done with this very first phase. So if anyone have any question or want to ask anything directly, feel free to ask me now, or we will move to the another case studies.
Yeah, so I have a question. Hi, my name is Rakshit.
Yeah, hi
So
Rakshan.
I have a question. So this app which you made, is it for a desktop level or is it for a phone level, basically?
No, so I actually got the requirements for the web app only, and to be honestly, this is not responsive version. They're like, because of lots of information, they don't want to clutter it, so they motivate users to use this platform more on the more on the desktop, or on MacBook, or on the laptop thing.
So so they gave you the opportunity. They gave you that constraint that it should be on the desktop, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't put it in the requirement, but I already had 2 to 3 meetings with them, because
Okay.
before understanding the requirement in Word, it's more important to understand the requirement from the person who is like kind of assigning to me that what exactly I need to do, because many times what client requires or demands are not encapsulated in the words. So it's helpful to have this session with the client after they gave you the requirement, to just know about a little bit brief about this requirement. And that's where I found out this thing, that they want it to be desktop friendly, and as of now they don't want it to be used on the mobile.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
no
it.
problem. Welcome, man. Anything else? Anyone have any questions
Hi,
regarding?
I'm Akhil. I wanted
Hey,
to
Akhil.
ask you. So, are there any accessibility concerns that you take into, account?
Mhm.
Like, for instance, if the person is colorblind or something, like, do you take in that factor of contrast and everything while doing the UI?
No, honestly, I didn't get this kind of constraint. Like I asked about like, do we need to focus on any kind of disability factor, like even the color problem people have or this kind of things. So
Yeah.
client gave me the freedom that they don't want to have this kind of constraints because if we need to work on that constraint, then maybe the colors or the illustrations or the icon that I'm using, I need to rethink about it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that it makes sense to all kinds of user and age groups.
No, so generally, what kind of a workflow do you like go through? Like, is it like more of agile one or like a waterfall model?
No, so basically, the workflow is all about understanding the user pain points. So here, like I said, uh, there is no defined term that for this project we need to do this kind of thing. The whole point of creating this case study is to just give the feature more accessibility, more scalability to the users, and to solve their problems in real time. I think that is the final ambition or goal of the, like, let's say, workflow or whatever we are creating for it. So, for example, in the research phase or in any other phase, you may approach this problem with your way if you have the freedom to work on it. So it is more about how we tackle things in real time and how we transform all the information just to make sure to create a feature that actually works in real time and client is happy and user is happy. Then I think your job is done.
Okay, the client factor is a major bust here. Like even I've worked with clients who are like like some extreme or like some are
Mhm,
moderate. They
mhm,
actually demand for these kind of things,
mhm,
colorblind,
mhm,
disability issue, but some do not. What you say
mhm.
is true.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it never happened with me so far. In these last
Okay.
7 years, I never got this kind of restriction, but I did read articles on Medium about how to tackle this kind of designs and how to work upon these kind of things. But so far, I'm not able to get this kind of things. And I would really suggest that we should not focus on just what client wants. We should fall in love with the problem. What exactly is the problem
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
I agree.
And I think in that way you are able to create a feature or design that not only will your client like but also will your user like. Because sometimes client is unaware of the requirement from user of what actually user demands. And when you show the client for the very first time, they reject your idea. But if you back up your idea with research or other things like with testing and other things, then they would believe. And once they see, the scope in your design, then they would agree with whatever you are saying is making sense to them.
And I want to ask about the testing factor also. So, do you test the like interface or whatever with the client's user base, or like do you test with some other people also? Like, and I'm talking about the demographics here,
Mhm, mhm.
like
Yeah.
people who know very little and like very more, or like how.
Mhm. So it actually depends. If I get the testers from the client, if I get the user from client, then that's well and good. That is related to the product or that understand the product. Then I would get a bit more insight about the flaws that real-time users are actually having. But if I don't get this opportunity and if I'm not that lucky that I got this from client, then I would try to do it by myself. And I always prefer that kind of users who are not very aware of this kind of things, because the first time users, it's really insightful to get what they think about this overall feature, even if they are not aware of what the virtual card actually is. And when they
The
interact with you,
emergent users, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Okay.
And I mean, like the quantity of user is completely depends upon the time. You could choose like 20 users, and there are different tools for usability testing. Like you could use Google Analytics, Optimizer, Hotjar, and other tools, and it actually makes your job easy. But why I avoid using these tools is because when you confront real-time users, when you confront real human beings, you will understand problem in real time. You will
Yeah,
know.
yeah. The first-hand experience is something
Yeah,
else
yeah,
if you do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. But of course, like if we have, let's say, 1 million users, we can't do A to B testing. Then it's important to use tools like Google Analytics to get the bounce rate, or to get how much time a user is spending on an average page, and this kind of critical information about the future design updates.
So, and so if you take research also, do you do both, I guess, right? Like first-hand and online based.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it depends upon the factors like how much time I have,
Okay.
what's the liberty that I get from the clients. For example, if a client approach me and they wanted just the visual design part and they don't want anything for the UX or anything, then I would not go for not spend that much time on research. But if the client requires me to go thoroughly from the scratch to the final deployment, and even after deployment they want to iterate the product as per the user feedback on App Store or Play Store or directly via A2B testing, so we need to go through that kind of process.
Okay. Okay. So, uh, once you give them give them the screens, like what do you prototype them on?
So like I said, there is a tool called Principal for Mac, but
Yeah, yeah.
nowadays Figma is also very powerful. But Principal for Mac is my favorite because it's easy to get the manual interactions, like which is not very generic or common. So it's easy to get that feeling that user would feel that this is already implemented. It's really difficult for user to differentiate that is it already developed app or is it something that you prototype and you are showing me just the static screen. So uh, are you using Mac machine or Windows?
No, I use Windows. I use Figma and InVision to prototype.
Okay. Then I would, yeah, you don't have Mac because the principal is actually
Yeah,
compatible
I
only.
know. I've used it. It's very fluid.
Yeah, but you could also use After Effects, but it's quite honestly it's quite time consuming and difficult.
You have to choreograph it. Like it's a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you need to portray the whole story frame by frame in After Effects, and it actually requires a lot of time. But to actually create very fancy interactions for Dribble or for other places, it's good. But I think in real world, it doesn't add a lot of value because I think other softwares like Figma or as you're suggesting XD or InVision could do the job easily. Whatever be the basic interaction for the real world users could be.
Okay, I'm done.
Cool. So anyone else is having any question?
Prakhar, I guess we could move to the next case study and then you can maybe take more questions.
All right, great. Let's go ahead then. So let's dive into some other case studies. This is my favorite one because I'm working here. I'm working at Hello Beta. I'm crafting digital solutions here. Hello Beta is a pioneer in e-mental related sector. It's based in Germany, and they are helping people to cope with mental problems like stress, depression, anxiety. This kind of they have research proven method along with certified psychotherapist and physiotherapist to actually help you to cope with this kind of mental illness in real time. So what Hello Better does is it helps user to prevent corona, stress, and depression. It helps in treatment of insomnia, chronic pain, acute depression, drinking problems, and panic attack, and this kind of things. This is basically what Hello Better is about, and that's what I'm working at Hello Better. especially we are creating digital solutions for people who are having some mental related issues, and we are trying to cure them with this digital medium. So you could understand the importance of technology in today's world. User don't need to wait for any kind of appointment to go or access these kind of treatments. So this is how technology uh, came humans so close. So this is the companion app for the Hello Beta that I worked on. So I am responsible for creating this entire app from scratch along with other teammates. The main forte of the Hello Beta app is of course the training. So what training does is you will get a guided flow from coach or from psychotherapist to understand more about your mental problems and how we could deal with in real time. So this is what training do, but the content for training is pretty complex for mobile devices. So as of now, we are restraining training just for the desktop. We also added a notification which is not present here, that you could only able to do training through PC or desktop. Here we are only showing the progress of training that user did so far. And then here we have the home page on the left. It shows about user could plan their activity that makes them happy or that they feel good about. They could plan journal entry, like entry about the mood, how they're feeling, entry about the stress, how much stress they are having, and they could check the real-time progress of every day, that how much stress is relieving day by day and how much stress they are lowering with these training programs. So this is the basic functionality of the companion app of Hello Better. So I'm I'm showing you these screens because I want to tell you how much of time, how much of commitment, and how much of patience it requires to actually create just one screen. So this is the final screen that you're watching on this presentation. So to create this screen, we need to design more than 15 screens. We created more than 15 prototypes just for one screen to make sure we give the most impeccable experience to the user. We refine the homepage again and again and again and again just to make sure we hit that level where we all are satisfied. The project manager, other designer, or whatever, whoever is in the team, we all needs to be on the same page. And that is why we created lots of prototypes just for one page to see how better or how best we could do it for the users. So this is just to show that how much of time, how much of patience, and how much of commitment it takes to design something that would truly transform the world. We use the grid just to make sure the spacing and the cohesiveness of the screens should remain same throughout the entire product. So we use 6-column grids having 20 pixels of gutter space and 20 pixels of margin space. We also use the 20 pixel grid rule where we kind of define the spacing of various sections by 20 pixel. Of course, because of the different screen sizes, it will differ, but we try to keep it under the multiple of 20, let's say 20, 40, 60, 80, just to have uh, a, a, a very cohesive and very harmonious relationship of all these screens all together. Then we have the illustration process, how we create illustration from scratch. So we started it, of course, from paper and pencil, and then we scribble a little bit of it, and then we transform these rough lines into Figma because the illustration is not very complex, so we don't need to use Illustrator. We could define it in Figma. We have this very basic, rough, handmade, like very fast drawn sketch on Figma. Then we define the more precise shapes of the entire body of the landscape, of cat, of tree, and to define the contrast, that how the color should differentiate with each other and how it needs to look. And then we apply the branding colors just to give a very proper look and feel to the illustration, and it would blend easily with the design system that we created. This is the basic illustration process that we follow at the company. So that's it for the Hello Better project. If anyone have any questions, feel free to ask me. I would be more than happy to answer. No? All right, then let's go ahead. So this is the household energy monitor project. This project is very close to me because this is something that I never been a part of before. So I really am intrigued when client approached me with this idea. So what the basic idea of this product is, let me tell you. So this app tracks the consumption of energy by the electrical devices that your home is having. And it also suggests that how a user could save money on their power through through smartly turning off the devices that they are not using, maybe fluctuating the temperature of the heater, for example, and they could see the impression of that in real time, that how if I put the heater on 20-degree, then it will cost me $4 per hour. And I could even set the ideal temperature so that it will give me the most optimal solution for all the kind of for this special particular device. So this is the basic idea of this app, is to track the energy consumption from the electrical devices. Uh, let's move to the research part. So before starting, before I started working on this project, I did a little bit of research to understand people's action needs and behaviors. So here I took two kind of research into consideration. First one is qualitative analysis, second is quantitative analysis. I won't, explain you the technique, like very technical or complex. I would explain you in the most easiest way what this means. So qualitative analysis is very less structured method. It's just to give user freedom to say as much as they want and to describe the problem in as much words as they could. This method is important to gain deep insight and therefore helps me, to give a better understanding of user mindset and the problems that they're facing in real time. So I approached more than two users, but here in the presentation, I'm just sharing two user stories. So the first one is Deepak Jadon. He is a product manager. And I approached him and I asked him some simple questions like, how can you check energy consumptions of your devices? And he answered me, I don't have any means to check the power consumption on all devices individually, but I could check overall usage on the energy meter. So you could understand the kind of information that we're extracting from this method, just to get a brief insight of what user is thinking. And it's important to put the right questions here, as it will also give understanding about the scope of the project. Let me explain you here. So this is the second user that I asked other questions like, how do you save electricity bill? So the user replied, usually by switching off devices that are not in use. However, I mostly forget to turn off running devices. So this is something that I could note it down, that how I could, ease the pain that user is having. And I asked another question to the user, like, let's assume that the heater you are using is the highest power consumption device in your home and you leave for the work and forgot to turn it off. Then what would you do? So with the sad face, user said that can't do anything, need to wait till the evening. So these are the problems that users are facing in real time. And I got these answers from the qualitative analysis to easily understand that what they are thinking about these problems that they're facing. The second term is the quantitative analysis. So quantitative analysis is a more structured method. We get answers to concrete questions. We get numbers and facts here so that we get a more confident answer from user. The example of this kind of research is here. So user mostly say yes or no, or answer in numbers so that we get a more precise answer and understand like how they are functioning or how they are envisioning the overall system. So the first question that I asked is, do you use any energy or power monitor or related app currently? The user replied no. Second question I asked, like suppose we are working on an energy monitor app that will track your power consumption and save your bill. How often will you use it? And the user replied 5 to 6 times a week. Of course, it's not as simple as the reply, but I extracted this information from the conversation that I had with user. But I always try to get the as minimal answer in the quantitative analysis as I could. And then another question I asked, like how satisfied are you with current power consumption on your home and the cost generated at the end of the month? So user replied, not satisfied at all. So this research helped me to understand the need of the product and the scope of the product for the future. And I could show this data to my client, to stakeholders, or to the board of the company that the product that we are working on should definitely have a great future. So these are kind of important information that we could extract from the research part. So then we have the user flow diagram. So it's mostly boxes that connects the overall screen flow. It's more like a flow chart to give the information, like especially for myself, to get a kind of basic layout of how the app needs to function, and what are the different functionalities, success message, error message that we could give to user at what point of time. So it gives me a bit more of information of at what direction I want to go ahead. Then how could users set up their device? How could users set up their electronic device with the app? So this is the simple step. I got uh, this kind of steps from client that how they want user to set up this device. So the first thing is user need to buy a compatible device that is compatible with the app for easy connection. They could scan the QR code on the user manual or on the packet of the electronic device, and the app and the app easily edit on their dashboard, and then user could easily synchronize or sort their device in their preferred room at whatever they want, in the bedroom, hall, kitchen, wherever they want to put, like for example the bulb. They could synchronize it, or they could sort it easily. So this is how user could add a manual electric device which could which could be easily handled by the app in a more intelligent way. These are the wireframes. These are mostly like the finalized wireframes, because there are like a couple of iterations that I did here. For example, here in this version, I tried to remove the bottom tab bar just to give more and more space to user, and I encapsulate all that information in the menu bar on the top right. So user could get more information on the home screen, and we could provide more content. This is the basic wireframe designs. And then I defined the style guide, that what kind of color palette we are going to use for this particular version. The font family that I want to use, DM Sense, it's from Google, it's free font. So it's the good part from using fonts from Google is, they are very accessible. They're very scalable for users. So it's really easy to get these kind of fonts and to have a very good readability, good geometrical shapes that would enhance the overall performance of the app. Then I defined the iconography that I created for this version for all the screens. These are the basic family that I created. So whenever I evolve this version further, or if client approve this version, if client say that, okay, this is the thing that we want to go ahead with, then I have this style guide ready, so I could evolve easily, and I could use these elements to actually make other screens even more better. Then we have the final interface design here. So after wireframes and guidelines defined, we move to the high fidelity mockups. I use Sketch software to design all these screens one by one. So for the home screen, I tried two versions. So whenever I am in confusion that which version is looking good, I simply take both the versions and show it to users, and then see which one is making more sense. Even if I don't have a user, I will show it to client that, okay, these are the two versions that I really like. Now you need to help me out that which one is making more sense in the current scenario of the product. So this one is the first version where we are showing energy consumption today. We're showing rooms arranged horizontally, and it is sorted as per the active devices. So the bedroom is having 4 active devices, so it is shown to be the very first. Then we have the hall, that is only 2 active devices, and then the other rooms come. And at the end is a very intelligent notification that we could show it to the user. So for example, user started a water heater and they forget to turn it off, or the water heater is not in use, then this notification would kind of alert user that they could save $10 by turning it off, and how much it would impact in the long run in your electricity. So this is how it would calculate the tentative cost of how it will affect the overall power consumption at the end of the month. This is the very first home screen. This is the second version of the home screen. I tried to play a little bit with the statistics part. So here I tried to show graphical representation with each hour how much user consume electricity. And rooms, I arranged it now not in horizontally but in vertical way, just to try another possibility that how we could do how we could interact with the home screen in another way. And at the end you could see a notification for switching off heater if it is turned on unnecessarily, or if it's turned on for a long amount of time. So the app algorithm will figure it out the exact time when they need to send this notification to the users. These are some more detailed screens of this particular version. So this is the detailed version of the bedroom. We have different categories like temperature, light, sound, and fan. So temperature means heater, light means bulb, tube light, or any other kind of light. So these are the kind of arrangement of different categories and that user could interact with. So here you could see the knob, and when user interact with the knob, they could see the direct impact of the power on the electricity bill. So on 17 degrees Celsius, the heater is consuming 3 kilowatt of electricity, and it is having a rate of $2 per hour. And when when you increase the knob to 20 degrees Celsius, it will consume 5 kilowatt of electricity, and it in turn gives the rate to $4 per hour. So you could easily see all this detailed information within this screen, just to get a sense that how smartly you could save electricity bill. And at the bottom you could see that there is this intelligent notification. You could show it to the user that lowering the temperature below 16 degree cut the cost by $25 per month. So this is how smartly this app would allow user to save power consumption on day-to-day basis. And at the end, they could see that there is a big amount that they saved. There's a big chunk of money that's saved using this product. Then I give this complimentary dark mode. So dark mode is not just good looking, but it increases the battery life. It put very less strain on human eyes. And the third important feature of dark mode is it increase the visual ergonomics. It enhance the overall look and feel of the app. So previously I wanted to have the dark mode to be applied automatically at the night time or at the evening time. But then I interacted with clients, with client users that they allotted me, and then I don't know, it's a pretty biased or what, but they don't like the dark mode so much. So maybe because of 2-3 users I interacted with, and out of them 2 are not in very much favor of the dark mode. So I thought to give it a manual try, that user could shift to the dark mode manually instead of switching it automatically when there is evening or when night time occurs. These are the screens for the dark mode, and at the end is the interactive prototype for the overall feature that I created. So as I already explained, this interactive prototype actually helps in the user testing session, and also gives a client an idea that how the app will interact in the real time, how it will look when the app will go live in App Store and Play Store. So this is the benefit of interactive prototype. And whenever I get time to create or play with the interaction, I would always go for it. But it also depends upon the time, because creating this prototype take a little bit of time. So if I have the time, then I would definitely create prototypes for clients to understand the whole ecosystem in one go, and to see like how their app will look in real time. So this is the case study of the first version that I created, and this is the second version. So the all the information, all the context is same as what I already mentioned you. The only difference here is I tried to play a little bit more with the colors, with the way we want to arrange the layout and other things. So here what's different is I tried to change the graphical representation at the top of energy consumption today. And then I changed, instead of sorting devices through rooms, user could directly sort appliances like bulb, fridge, computer, and that green and red dot means green means it's already active, red means it's off. And at the bottom you could see an uh, intelligent component which kind of describe user that if they decrease the temperature to 14 degrees Celsius, then it will cut the cost by $9. And we have the dark mode for the same screen, and at the top and at the most right, the screen is for the bulb. So when I press on the bulb, I get this screen where I could fluctuate the brightness of the light, and I could see how much will it affect the energy usage and what would be the cost for that particular brightness. I could turn it on and off using the switch here, and I could even change the light colors from the app, and even the colors uh, reflect the energy bills in real time. So these are all the functionality that we are giving to users in the most easiest way possible, so that they could interact with, enjoy the experience, and could save the bill at the end. So this is the primary goal of the creation of this prototype. And the third version, this is the third version. It is also pretty much the same content, the same problem, the same feature. But here I wanted to have, I played a bit more with the white space, and use the illustrations and other components more in a retro way. So just to play it a little bit different from what I did. This is just another version with the same information and everything. It's because, like I said, I tried many prototypes, and these are some things that I really like client to see these things, and it makes sense to me. So that's why I shared these things to client. And then at the end, it depends upon the client, it depends upon the users, that what version that they choose. And sometimes it happens that they choose, let's say, this component from version 3, another component from version 2, and then we need to blend these different things into one. This is how the whole design thing works actually. So that's it for this household energy monitor project. If anyone have any question or any query, please let me know.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Raksha.
Yeah. Hi. So when you were mentioning about the dark mode, so don't you think the dark mode had pretty bright colors in some elements that would uh, have a eye attention to it, and it would kind of be too much attractive to eye that maybe a person would not be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, as we use gradients, and like I said, dark mode is to enhance the visual ergonomics. So we want the app to flourish more colors, to have a bit more of charming tone, even in the night mode also. But as I said, like I discussed it with some users, and they said they are not pretty much interested in dark mode. So that's why we keep it optional,
Okay.
so that even if you like to have it, you could apply it manually, and if you don't want it, you don't need to. So like you said, for you it looks too vibrant, or it looks too flashy, but maybe for other user, if I try, they may like it. They may find it useful, and they may find it wonderful. So with this kind of cases, it's good to keep these things optional. to avoid this kind of things that will cause any kind of issue in the later. So I think that's how I approach to this dark mode.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have anything to ask so far? Anything that they don't
Oh,
understand?
okay. When you said you gave the prototype to users, like what, how do you like? Do you send it to them via link, or like do you manually give them a
So
device?
So if I'm performing A to B testing, then
Huh.
I mean, I always prefer A to B testing, especially to present there physically, because many times it happens that what user like is not what exactly user wants. So understanding their facial expression, understanding their psychology when they're using the product is really important because they are the first time users. So like for me, I come very close to the product because I'm working on it from the last 7 8 days. So at some point of time I lose the objectivity. I lose that sense that is it making sense or not. So these users are the source of truth for me. So I always prefer to go to these users physically and to understand their psychology, their facial expression, their gestures, that what things are making sense to them, what not. And if it's not possible, then of course I will go for the telephonic interview, or maybe give them the prototype link, put it at like Google Drive or at some place, and tell them to play it on their phone or on their laptop or at any other place.
Okay.
Thanks again. Anyone have any other question or anything that they didn't understand so far that we discussed? No? Let's go ahead with another project. So this is Brickshare. I designed the entire digital product from website, web application, responsive version, everything from scratch. So what is Brickshare? Brickshare is a real investment uh, product from Denmark. And the client and the basic idea of Brickshare is actually they give you a tentative cost about how much profit will you earn if you invest in XYZ property. So if you invest in this area in Denmark, then how much will you earn in revenue in the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years? So they give you a kind of very tentative cost prediction. So this is the basic working scenario of the Brickshare, and I help the product to create it from scratch, from wireframes to the entire design system, and then website, web application, dashboard, and responsive version and everything. So you can check more, like in brief, this case study on Behance. So let's move to another project. There is this prototype that I created for Brickshare. It's for accessing the dashboard. I created it using Principal for Mac. It's just to give the idea, to user and also to client, that how the platform would feel like before developers started working on it. This is the power of the interaction tool, that it gives a feeling of reality, that how the product would interact with the real-time users. This is a prototype that I created. Now, the next project is Trade 3R. So this product is about social trading. For those of you who don't know what social trading is, so it's about selling stocks, selling celebrity photos, even selling your photos or videos to other users in Trade 3R. And in return, you get rewards from Trade 3R app, and you can redeem these rewards in places like Starbucks or Amazon voucher coupons or any other places. This is the basic idea of this platform. So this is the old version of the app. Client approached me with this version, and I was really terrified by looking at it especially in 2020, that how someone is still using this kind of thing. So client came with this with very clear vision that they wanted to have a very bold, gamified, you know, use a bit of gradient, savvy and edgy design. So it's very good that I get this very clear perspective that what exactly client wants. I mean, what is their demands in real time. So this is the old version of the app, and I converted this into this version. So we tried with multiple iterations, multiple screens. We even redesigned the entire logo just to give just so that the overall design would complement the logo also. So we tried with both the light mode and the dark mode. Of course, the client gave me the clear instruction that they wanted to try the dark mode, but when they see this overall evolution in the light mode, then they really like this overall idea and the structure of the information. I think for first 3-4 weeks, client used this light mode in the app store, and then we evolved design even further than what you are seeing here. So then currently they again put down the light mode and they push the dark mode to the app store. So currently now, whenever you try the app store for this app, you see the dark mode there, and we evolved it even more than this. So this is how we could evolve the overall look and feel of a product when we collaborate closely with client, we understand the requirement, and then we try to create something that really makes sense to not just client, but to users and to the people who are going to use this product. So this is the another project from Red Bull. So I was approached by a third-party company, and they wanted to create this experience for television, TV. And this is completely new thing for me because I usually worked on the web projects or mobile devices or this kind of things. So working on television is something new for me. That's why it's really difficult for me to say no for this product. So what is Sirius TV is it's pretty much like Netflix, but in Germany region. So Netflix have kind of globalized content. They have international content, but Sirius TV focus only on the native content that German would feel and would like to see or play upon. So that is what Sirius TV is all about, and it's from the Red Bull. So I got this opportunity to work on this television interface, and now this time the interface needs to be controlled by the remote and not by clicks or anything else. So everything needs to be designed in such a way that it should be easily accessible with remote. This is a new challenge for me, and I worked on it and I submitted prototypes that I created for them. And these are the part of prototype that I created. This is the homepage for this particular prototype. So the next project is the Tenant App. So I got this requirement from client. So these are some freelance projects. So I worked as full-time designer. I worked also as a freelance designer, and these are all the projects that I did as a freelance designer. Just to clarify, this is the Tenant App. So I got this requirement from the client. The client is from France, and they wanted to build a relationship between the landlord and the tenant. So what the kind of problems that they're facing is they can't lodge any kind of complaint they have related to apartment. They don't have the landlord number. Landlord often too busy to reply or to call back or to do anything like that. They don't have any physical record of the deposit that they did because the client paid through cash to the landlord, and payment of the electricity bill and other things. So there are these different problems that client is having, and he wanted to solve it through this product. Client wanted to have this paperless process of onboarding and to rent an apartment. So this is the basic interaction flow that I created. for to give an easy understanding to client of how the product would work and how we are going to connect different screens with each other, and how it would accumulate to serve a common purpose. And this is the kind of prototype that I created. I created it using Principle for Mac, so you could see how fluid and uh, how seamless it is. And when I use it on my iPhone, then I would even get feeling like this is something that is already implemented, because it is so smooth in the app that is very easy to interact with. This is the basic idea behind using the interaction in the design to actually breathe life into the product before even we hit the development phase. And client also get an idea that how the app would look like in the future whenever they wanted to implement the app in real time. So I'm pretty much done with all the projects. Now I will discuss a little bit about the designer traits, because we have just a little bit of minutes left. So I want to talk about designer traits. The very first thing is passion. If you are not passionate about design, if you treat designing as career, then I really advise to leave it, because designing is not 9 to 5 job. It's an every minute thinking. It's a part of the observation. It's about thinking each and every second about something that is either relevant or not relevant. But as designer, it's really important to be passionate. Otherwise, you will easily get bored of your job. You will easily feel, distracted or dejected while working for long hours. The second designer trait is always keen on learning more. No matter how much experienced you are, 10, 15, 20 years of experience, if you stop learning, then you will leave behind yourself in the market. And I don't know about the other industry, but designing industry is so fast evolving every day. We see changes in trends, we see changes in approach every day. So it's really important to learn more and more, and to deep dive in the resources like platforms like Medium or Behance, to learn from the masters, learn from the great designers, globally. The third designer trait is problem solving ability. No matter how good you are, or let's say, if you don't know about Figma, if you don't know about the colors and other things, or you don't know about the sketching and this kind of things, it's okay. But if you have this problem solving ability, if you understand the problem and if you could solve it via pencil and paper, then you are a designer. And trust me, I interacted with lots of designers. I had discussion with lots of designers who have zero knowledge about sketching, who don't know anything about the softwares like Figma, Sketch, and others. He don't know about Adobe After Effects or how to make interaction. But the ability to solve real world problems, the designers are very good at, and that's why they're leading the entire design team. They're leading the entire product, and that is what make them different. And the fourth designer trait is ability to take criticism. There are days when people would argue you. They wanted to find flaws, unnecessary flaws in your work, in your in in like design, that whatever you're presenting or something else. And don't get demotivated, don't get depressed, don't feel like I worked so hard on it and still there are so many flaws. What will I do? Designing is an ever evolving process. It's like a progression. It's designing is not a destination. We can't say that we are finalized with it. Of course, we need to publish and to ship our design for commercial purpose and for use. But designing is not a destination. It's more like a journey. It's more like a progress that you do every day. Because whatever you create today, whenever you see it tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you will feel how you could improve that particular design with a fresh perspective, with a fresh eye. So you could see these things every day. And if people kind of argue you over something, then try to take it positively. Try to understand the user mindset. Try to understand why someone is arguing on your design. it would be better if you back up your decisions through data or through usability testing, or if not, try to understand what the particular person is trying to say and why they're criticizing your design, and how you could improve it. Because sometimes we get to learn so much from these kind of people who actually hate our work, who are very good in creating faults in our design in real time. So for me, I take it positively. Even if someone is like, straight away reject my design, I won't like, argue that why you rejected it. I worked for over a week and then you rejected it so harshfully, and why you are so harsh on your critique. I would rather try to understand that why they rejected my design and how I could improve it, next time, so that it won't happen again. So these are like some basic traits that a designer should have if you really want to progress in your career, and if you want to build a brighter future in the designing space. So I think these are some like little things that if you follow, then it would be helpful in your future job. So we are pretty much done. Let's have some Q&A if any of you have anything to ask or to share, or any kind of going on, feel free to let me know. We're more than happy to answer.
So I'd like to know how you, how do you manage the pricing to your clients? Like,
So I would say honestly, Akhil, that so how experienced are you? Can I ask, like, from how long you're working in designing?
like I'm a final year design student. I've been doing freelancer projects since a year, like more than a year, 1.5 years.
Okay, all right, that's great. I think that's great that you are also, gaining practical knowledge along with the educational one. So it really helps you in landing up a great job. So I would say that don't focus on the price tag. I would say focus on the quality instead. Because if you create this kind of remarkable or unforgettable experiences, then you don't need to define your value in some rupees or in some dollars, because then client are more than happy to pay you even more than what you expected. Let's say you are quoting a price for an entire design project for $500 or $1,000. So it kind of restrict your level of innovation and everything under that price tag. You will try to work under that price tag, because you already get this thing in your mind that I don't need to give that much of time to this project, because I will earn this much from this and this much from that. So I would say that don't mess up with price as of now. You will first create yourself as a quality designer, someone everyone could recognize it from distance. You should develop that sense of uniqueness to your work, that is easy to identify, to your clients, to users, to whoever you're creating. So a very good example I like to give is Johnny Ive. I'm sure everyone has heard of him. He's a kind of design innovator for Apple. He's the one who created iPhone. He's the one who gave us the amazing Macintosh that we are currently using. He's the one that kind of revolutionized the entire design ecosystem. So I actually like to go and watch his interviews on YouTube and other places wherever I get. So he said this one beautiful thing, that I would like to work more upon ideas than something that code, like something, if that is encapsulated by price, then that would halt my creativity at some place. So he kind of I got very much inspired from him as a designer to focus more on the level of quality and the kind of experience that you are giving to a client. And automatically, within 1 or 2 years, you will see the the unprecedented demand of your work, and which will automatically increase your price quote. And even it's not a big thing that if you quote just for 5 or 10 design screens, like 5 or 10,000 US dollars, it's really easy to achieve because people trust in your taste, people trust that you are genius in what you are doing, so they would be more than happy to provide you the price tag that you want to take. So I would suggest that before all of this, you would focus more on the quality prospect, and try to observe more, and see other talented designers work on Dribble, Behance, understand the case study in brief on Medium platform, and be interested in other places. I think, yeah, I mean that's how I actually work, honestly. So anything else? Anyone
Sir,
have
there's
any
a
question?
question from Lakshya. He
Mhm.
how to get started with design. So if you'd like to answer how
Mhm.
started.
That's a very good question. So I would say that everyone is a designer. Everyone could see and visualize and observe things, and we differentiate, like we categorize it into two sections: good design or bad design. Good design is something that we like to interact with. The very obvious example is Apple devices, iPhone. No matter how expensive they are, no matter if it cross, like if they will charge 5 lakh rupees for just an iPhone, people would still buy it. It's because of the design, it's because of the sense of care that they put, and they create themselves as brand. So now it doesn't matter for these kind of things. So so I would like to say that if you really want to get into design, the very first thing that you need to have is really unquenchable thirst and curiosity to solve the problems. And I'm not saying to go dive into the real world problems and to search for client. No, try to, like, for example, take the OLX app. I'm sure people know about the OLX app. So take any app that you like to use, and try to imagine that how you would like to interact with it if you want to change it for good, to actually make it even more better. So even the apps or platforms like Facebook, Instagram, they have room for improvement, and that is what the designers are doing there. they're they're making progress of towards making product more accessible to users every day. So I think you could start base with basics. I don't say to directly jump on the software, or directly start using Sketch or Figma, and work on it, because it will not help until and unless you understand how this whole ecosystem works in real time. And then once you get this gist, once you get this core value of design, that design is about solving real world problems, then it's easy for you to learn these tools where you could give wings to your dreams, and could make something that would solve user problem, and that would also help business to grow and thrive.
I have a question. So,
Mhm.
basically, when I start a project from a scratch,
Mhm.
like a user interface and user interaction designer, I start a project from a scratch. So,
Mhm.
where should I look for the first thing? Where should I
Mhm.
start my journey as a
Mhm.
designer?
Mhm.
Be
Mhm. So it's really a good question, man. Because the start, defines the end. So I would say that, what I usually do, I would tell you that how I do is I focus more on the problem first, at least for first few hours. I try to read, and like I said, I interact also with client if I get chance to discuss about that particular requirement that I get. So for example, in the airtm case where I shared you, you
Yeah.
asked you asked the question that why that is it responsive on mobile or not. So it is not mentioned in the requirement, but when I interacted with the client, I got this information that it should not be responsive friendly. And he didn't tell me directly, but I got this sense from, the discussion that I had with him. So the first point I would say is to deep dive into problem and to understand the requirement in deep in depth as much as you can. Then only once you have this vision of what is the problem that you want to solve in real time, then it's really easy to get the solution. And don't get demotivated if the solution won't work, because not every time everything you create will be appreciated by everyone. No, it will get bad comments, maybe it will get rejected, it will not making sense to real-time user for one time, two times, three times. But for the fourth time, you will able to understand the psychology of the user, that what exactly a client or user is requiring from my side. I think that is how you could approach especially the initial stage.
So in your experience, if you kind of fail in a project, basically mid of a
Mhm,
project, where you basically couldn't understand the user as specific or couldn't understand the client, and you
mhm,
fail to understand it for mid of the project, you were doing everything wrong basically
mhm,
till that time. So
mhm,
how will I start and come back to a situation where uh, I can solve that problem basically.
mhm,
I start understanding the user and start
mhm,
understanding the project as well, and start understanding the client, what client wants.
mhm,
Because when a person basically starts with the project,
mhm,
there's a point of view, there's a boiling point comes where you lose everything.
mhm,
You
mhm,
are like basically I don't know if this is working or not, and
mhm,
if the client also rejects it, so you have
mhm,
to start it from scratch, or uh, what is your point of view on that?
mhm. So I would like to clarify this point with an example with that I had, I think, in the last year. So I'm not sure if you heard of the company called Revolut. It is like one of the biggest payment related solution from UK, and they
Yeah.
headquartered in London. So I was approached by the HR of the of the company, and they wanted me to create an assignment because they wanted me to work as a product designer for them. And I flunked uh, at the assignment. So why I want to tell you this is because it really makes me feel very demotivated and depressed, because I worked almost 7 to 8 days, day and night. I worked, I stopped all my freelance projects at that time, and I started working on that thing solely. And then I cleared the first round, I cleared the second round, and then after I submit my task assignment to the design lead, and unfortunately, I mean, I didn't get any kind of like this rejection email, but I never get call from them about it. So it means that they don't want to continue with me. So the overall case study that I created at that time, I felt like it is the most optimal solution. It is the most ideal solution. Where am I? Where I did mistake, or where I went wrong, because of which I am not get selected. So I felt very disturbed. I felt a bit dejected at that time. But when I went through the same problem again after a month or so, when I'm able to get over from that phase, then I could able to see where are the mistakes I made, and where are the flaws that I created, and what is exactly I misunderstand that would cost me this opportunity. So I would say that even if you flunk at something, don't take it personally. Try to go through it again, not immediately, because at that time, trust me, you are not able to understand what is wrong and what is right. You will feel that whatever you created is right, because that happened with me. So at that point of time, you are not able to understand that thing. But if you take a look at the same problem after 1 or 2 weeks, or after some time, you would surely able to understand the problem that you did when you contemplate, when you think a little bit more about it. then you would able to understand, okay, this is the thing that I made it wrong. That's why it costed me this whole project. That's why client is upset with me, or that's why I lost that particular project. So it happened with me, many times. And as we all are humans, so we invested time in something, and if it won't work out, no matter how motivated or how good we are in self-realization, we feel a bit of sadness. We feel that we we actually feel not good, kind of vibration. So I think it happens with everyone. So I would just say that just uh, try to go through it again after a few time, and then uh, I guarantee that you would able to figure it out what went wrong with that particular
Yeah, even a time, even in that project, a time is a constraint. So what
thing.
all then can I do? So like if you're saying that come back after 1 week on that project and see it through it, and then think about it, and then
Hmm.
started again, or what flaws did you make? So if there's a time constraint,
Hmm.
like if it was a 7 to 8 days project, and I
Hmm.
have to finish it, and or on the uh, fourth day or the fifth day I got stuck,
Hmm.
that I think this is not working out, and
Hmm.
the client is saying something else, and client is also saying that it's totally rejected.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So what all can I do on that stage, basically?
Well, I think in that stage, I would suggest, because that's what I do, that to go completely away from that project, at least for few hours, or at least for a day. I would suggest to take a break, so that because you are working so much. So like I already mentioned in the household energy monitor app, that when we work so closely with something, we often lose objectivity, so we are not able to see that what is working and what is not working. So in that case, when we have the time constant especially, then we need to take a little bit of break from it. Maybe try to do something that you like. Maybe you like cycling, you like to play games, or you like to go for a walk, or anything else. Just try to go for that, stop for some time, and then maybe, I mean, what I do is, like, I usually go for a good sleep, and then when I wake up, I could start rethinking about everything, because it's happened with me that I need to create a prototype within one day.
Okay.
And uh, it's a very, like, confidential project, so I can't tell the name of the
Yeah, I
company.
understand that.
Yeah,
NDA stuff.
yeah. So but it's for a really, really big company that I worked for that project. And the unfortunate thing is, I got just one day for that particular project that requires at least 4 to 5 days of work. And I was very disheartened to see that why it is something like this. Why I'm not getting enough time to actually at least give my 100%. If I'm giving my 100%, if things are still not working, then I am all agreed to understand that there is something that I lack, or maybe I am not more intelligent than this thing.
Yeah.
But here I'm not able to get enough time for it. Then here, I would like to do, as per my experience, what I feels would works best. And even in that case, if I feel that if something is not working in any way, then, like I said, I would try to take a little bit of breaks. Like, if I'm working on something, and if my mind is not working any further, and if I'm not able to understand what else I need to do, just give a halt for 1 or 2 hours. Just try to do things that you like. Maybe play Call of Duty or PUBG,
Yeah.
or do something that you really enjoy. In that way, your mind would forget that problem for some time. And when you again approach that problem, then you may have a different vision, or you may have a different way to solve that problem, because you are now refreshed. You are now more energetic. Your mind is now capable to handle more things than it could before. So I think that's how I could approach.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.